Welcome to Life Will Be. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Thank you for tuning in, watching, listening, and trusting me with your time. We are halfway through the year. And as shocking as that is, it also puts so much into perspective for me. June is a pivotal month for me. It is my birth month. It marks half of the calendar year. And it often kind of stirs up this urgency in me where I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Yes, personal new year. Yes, all the things. But this time around, with more experience, intention, and maturity, I'm thinking about how I can position myself to live more freely. One of the things I know that I have to continue to practice is right sizing my expectations. I know I'm not alone. Please don't get quiet on me now. Oh, you just listening? Okay, great. I was thinking about the headline for this episode. What came to me is it's not them, it's your expectations. I'm a writer, I'm a storyteller, I'm a journalist. I've written some great headlines, but this one immediately checked something in my being. So many of us have saw different clips of movies and probably have heard, hopefully not have been told, that it's me, it's not you, right? And I was like, oh, think about relationships, okay. But sometimes it's not them, it is you, it is your expectations. Mind blowing, right? And so that is the subject matter for today's episode. It's not them, it's your expectations. Some have probably heard the line, stop expecting you from other people. But when you hear that, it's almost, it poses the question, well, what do I do? What are the tactics to not expect you from other people? The reality is that no one else is you. No one has your genetic DNA down to a chromosome, and no one can outdo you being who you are, which is a blessing. But you also have to know what to do with that. And that's what I want to talk about today. One of the first things that I wrote down here, I love a good note on my phone, is that not everyone deserves all of you, and not everything deserves your best. I'm not telling you to go have anything. You can fill in the blank there. What I have learned in my experiences as a giver, as a recovering people pleaser, it is imperative that I check how I show up in different spaces. Sometimes you realize people aren't doing as much as you, and it may be because they don't have the capacity or the skill, knowledge, wherewithal, so be it. But it is up to you to decide how much of yourself, your energy, your time, your resources, your gifts, your talents that you are going to give. Because when you're not receiving that same level of any of it, it is so hurtful, right? And this is not about hurt, right? But I will never forget Pastor Marcus, Hungry Church, Greensboro, North Carolina. He would often say, it's not your heart that's broken, it's your expectations. He was preaching this when I was in college. And I remember that because I was like, it's ingrained in my mind. So many of us are walking around with broken expectations. which can lead to heartbreak. But it is on us to manage our expectations. No one can manage your expectations for you. What you can manage is your boundaries. Hello. Hello. Why do we treat boundaries like the B word? Y'all know what the B word is? Internationally, y'all know what the B word is? I'm not going to say it. I know you know what it is, right? But I feel like I have had the experience lately where some people engage with my boundaries that are set in place, because it's not all about me, like the B word. You communicate your boundary and it's almost like somebody feels like you cussing them out or squaring up with them. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to protect myself. Right? But it is on you to communicate those boundaries in effort to right size and manage your expectations for yourself and as a gauge and guidance for others. People have to know what are the rules of engagement for being in community, in business, and relationship with you. When they don't know the rules, they'll break them. They'll see how far they can push the line, how far they can push you. But it is your business to have boundaries. There are boundaries between the sky and the land, the water, thank God, okay, and the land. And there needs to be boundaries that you have set in place so that things don't collide. So there are no natural disasters in your heart, your mind, your body, and in your relationships. Have boundaries, have consequences for when your boundaries are trampled on, and be clear about them. Live out your boundaries. One thing that I hear from my friends and family is they're like, Lydia, you don't play. And sometimes I'll be like, you know what? There have been moments where I've gotten in the game. And because I have not communicated or exercised my boundaries, people have had me, okay? And I'm like, you have to remember that you don't play. And you have to be mindful that you don't allow people to play with you in your face, all the colloquialisms. But that requires boundaries and being serious about them. Okay? Which leads me to my next point, trust. Trust is a theme right now across industries. You can't get away from the word, from the thinking of trust and trust building, the ideology, methodologies, all of the frameworks that have been applied to help establish, build, and be in relationship in a trustful or trusting manner. Theme aside, trust is one of my core values. With that requires self-trust. Trust is not a one-way relationship. So many people, you may know some of them, I know a few of them, have this idea that they need to be automatically trusted, but also like trust is just, it has nothing to do with them, but everything to do with how people engage with them, or they engage with others, I should say, right? What's the best way to say this? Like, I can't trust you. But I'm like, are you trustworthy? Trust goes both ways, plain and simple. I really do feel like people can sense when we don't trust ourselves, though. And that's when so many of us get taken advantage of because we put ourselves in a vulnerable position when we do not trust ourselves. And when that is apparent to others who are predatory, who don't have the right spirit or right heart, it could be very damaging. You have to exude self-trust and find practice to trust yourself all the more. right? How are you talking to yourself? How are you at keeping your word to yourself? You have to find ways to practice trust. Trust your decision making. One of the things that I wrote down is to create expectations based on the information or the data that you have collected, be it in a relationship, at work, in business. Know that sometimes you have the answers because you have collected the data. You have to trust that. I was in conversation. It was brought to my attention that I already had the answers. And I was like, you're right. I love it when you're right. I do have what I need to right size what I want, but also kind of like compute and do all the things and process and not wait for something to happen, but be proactive as well based on the information that I have. Create a personal framework for decision making based on your values and honor yourself by staying true to them. This is a part of the self-trust building process. I have done a lot of work around my values as of lately, and it is so fun. I encourage you to do it. Get an exercise. You can kind of Google it, but I'll share what I did. I was given a list of words that are values by my coach. And I went in and I highlighted them. And I just was highlighting. I probably had like 50 things. The goal was to get them down to 5. So with every next step, I was just boiling them down. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I got to these 5 values and I was like, I need to make sure that my life is aligned, my decisions are aligned, my relationships are truly in accordance with what I believe and what I value. With that, I'm like trying not to laugh so loudly in your ear. But with that comes radical acceptance. 2024, oh my gosh, was a year, right? Every year is a year, but what are you going to do with your time, right? Life will be. I was working on self acceptance, but more importantly, radical acceptance. Radical acceptance. Have you heard of it? I'm going to read the definition that I got from Google because why not? Radicalized acceptance in a mental health context refers to a complete and total acceptance of reality, particularly when facing difficult or painful situations. It's about fully embracing the present moment without resistance or judgment and acknowledging that some things are beyond our control. This practice can help reduce suffering by minimizing the internal struggle that arises from resisting what is. What a definition. I mean, control, reducing suffering, acknowledgement, reality. Beyond the pain or difficult situations, it's those moments where life is happening in your life and you're trying to fix and change and work on your approach when you really need to just accept that things are what they are. When I read this definition, the first thing that came to mind was protect your peace and guard your heart. Radical acceptance can help you, in my opinion, protect your peace and guard your heart. Accepting things as they are can shorten your grief time and save you a lot of agony. There is no benefit to replaying things over, having the same conversations, and expecting things to change when they are not. Expecting people to change when they are set in their ways, when they don't have the capacity to be self-aware, or they just have no interest in being self-aware. When you know the place that you are showing up to and clocking in serves a purpose, but you're expecting so much more from it. Some things you have to take at face value. You have to know when to walk away, when to tune things out, and not always have an emotional response to things. Is this thing on? I know it is, y'all. That regulation is key. We talk about so many things, but emotional regulation, emotional maturity, spiritual maturity are true guiding forces in our daily lives. And without being regulated, you can blow whichever way the wind goes, okay? And your life can be a mess. Your expectations, a mess. Your relationships. Okay. So, what can you do? For me, I say the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I received this book years ago from a former acquaintance, and I keep the book because the book is good, and it opens with a serenity prayer. And I say this prayer as often as it comes to mind in very challenging times or just moments where I'm like, okay, I'm being met with the realities, the challenges, the difficulties of different situations where I know I don't have control. I go to prayer. I'm not asking to control anything with my prayer, but it's a form of surrender for me, an acknowledgement that I am not in control. Okay, you are resilient. You are. Trust and respect yourself. Create frameworks for joy and satisfaction. Okay? And let people know that you mean business. There have to be some things that you do not play about. You have to stand firm, say some things with your chest, and it doesn't mean that you get loud or that you're mean. Find gentle ways to communicate your boundaries and let people know that you are serious the first time around. Going back to those rules of engagement, people have to know that you are serious about who you are, your time, resources, talents, gifts, your being. So many of us think we have more time with life and people and places than we do. I'm a firm believer that I know who holds tomorrow, but I don't know what tomorrow holds. And it is not guaranteed. So why not be serious about who you are today? It's not that people can't experience you in a pleasant way or have fun with you or any of the things. Yet again, how you live your life is your business. Okay. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, you said all of that. It's a couple of affirmations, some guiding principles in there. What are the tactics? Let's go back to the broken expectations and radical acceptance. I've had the experience of feeling like my heart was broken because it was my expectations that were just out of whack. And I wasn't accepting things for what they were. There are still a few things that I'm like, okay, Lydia, we got to accept that. And so prepare yourself for the challenging and honest conversations you need to have. Write it down. I've had this exercise, and shout out to my therapist, because I'm like, whoa, this is good, girl. Thank God that I don't know everything. Isn't it a blessing that you don't know everything? Which leads me to my next point. Make a daily habit out of learning. You're probably like, what does this have to do with anything? Number one, it is a great use of time. You are never too old, too wise, too educated to not be learning. Sometimes we focus so much on the things that are going on in our lives that we don't make time for learning. Yesterday, I was listening to Melody Hobson in conversation with Oprah and McGreed, Miles Monroe the day before, and just different orators and experts, if you will. I always need to be learning and finding different ways to use my time so that I'm not consumed by my thoughts, not consumed by everything else that is going on around me, and find different ways to fill myself up. Get into that word too while you're at it, okay? And be kind to yourself as you let go of the things that comfort you but no longer serve you. Be clear about what your needs are and find gentle ways to communicate them. So many of us have had this moment where people have been rigid with us when they're setting a new thing in place, a new rhythm, a new system, new idea, persona. And it's like, okay, but why the extreme? Why be mean to me? Do you really have to be so cold? Does it need to be that abrupt? And I do honestly recognize that not everything requires a conversation. I've been repositioned. There are people who I've had to reposition, all the things, right? But there is a gentleness that is necessary when you are a loving person, when you are a loving being, when you are called higher, when you are light. So be gentle. Your expectations are yours. Your expectations are yours. And unless you have agreements around those expectations, they have nothing to do with anyone else. So be gentle. You may be the problem. Your expectations may be the problem. What conversations are you not having? Did they know? Where did that expectation come from? Does that expectation even serve you? Ouch. Okay, Lydia. I'm talking to myself, guys. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to us. Life will be. Take yourself seriously, y'all. Look, that's all I got. That's all I got. Just close the phone. That is all I have for you this time around. I really hope that you're able to apply some of the tactics and take what is enriching for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making it to this ending. I pray that this is the end of ill-fitting expectations for myself and for you. Until the next time, y'all, peace.